Most men don't realize when their life begins to drift. There is no alarm, no warning sign, no dramatic collapse. It happens quietly. One ordinary day becomes another. One year blends into the next. And slowly, without permission, routine replaces intention. He didn't notice it at first. Why would he? From the outside, everything looked fine. He showed up, he paid bills, he kept promises, he did what was expected. And that was the problem. Expectation had become the ceiling of his life. He remembered a time when mornings felt different, when waking up carried a sense of direction, when effort felt connected to meaning. That feeling didn't disappear suddenly. It faded, day by day, choice by choice, excuse by excuse, until one morning, standing in front of the mirror, he felt something unfamiliar. Not sadness, not anger, distance. He looked at his reflection and felt like he was observing someone else's life. The same face, same posture, same routine, but the eyes told a different story. They looked tired, not from work, but from avoidance. He turned away quickly, the way he always did. Some truths feel too heavy before breakfast. The day moved on as usual, traffic, emails, conversations that sounded important but meant nothing. He performed his role well, so well that no one questioned it, and neither did he, until silence found him. It happened later that evening, in a moment so small it almost didn't matter. Almost. He sat alone, lights dim, room quiet, no distractions left, and suddenly the noise inside his head stopped cooperating. Thoughts he had buried for years began to surface. Not dramatic thoughts, simple ones. "This isn't what I imagined." That sentence sat with him longer than he expected. He tried to dismiss it, told himself he was being ungrateful, told himself others had it worse. But silence doesn't argue, it waits. And the more it waited, the clearer something became. He wasn't unhappy because life was cruel. He was unhappy because life had become small, predictable, safe, controlled, comfortable enough to survive, but not alive enough to matter. That realization unsettled him. He had spent years chasing stability, believing it would lead to peace. Instead, it led to numbness. He thought back to younger versions of himself. The man who believed courage would arrive naturally. The man who assumed time would always be available. The man who postponed dreams without realizing postponement has consequences. No one ever told him that comfort slowly rewires ambition, that if you don't challenge your life, it shrinks quietly around you. The silence grew heavier. He noticed how often he said, one day I'll focus on myself, one day I'll take that risk, one day I'll become disciplined. One day had become a hiding place, safe, convenient, permanent. He realized something painful. He had been waiting for motivation, but motivation doesn't visit stagnant lives. It follows movement, and he hadn't moved, he had maintained. That night, sleep didn't come easily, not because he was anxious, but because awareness had arrived, and awareness doesn't let you rest the way ignorance does. He lay there staring at the ceiling, listening to the quiet. And for the first time in years, he asked himself a question he had avoided. If nothing changes, would I accept living this exact life for the next 20 years? His body answered before his mind could. A tightening chest, a slow breath, a long silence. That was the truth. The next morning felt different. Not hopeful, not motivated, clear. He woke earlier than usual, not by discipline, but by restlessness. Something inside him refused to sleep through another identical day. He went outside and walked without direction. No headphones, no phone, just footsteps and thoughts. He noticed how rarely he allowed his mind to speak without interruption. The city moved around him, people rushing, cars stopping and starting, construction tearing things down to rebuild. Nothing waited to feel ready, only people did. That thought stayed with him. He realized he had mistaken preparation for progress. Years of thinking, planning, waiting, and very little execution. Execution requires exposure. Exposure invites judgment, and judgment had scared him more than failure ever could. As he walked, memories surfaced. Moments where he stayed silent instead of speaking. Opportunities he declined because they felt uncomfortable. Decisions he delayed until they were made for him. None of them felt dramatic at the time, but together they formed a pattern. a life designed around avoiding discomfort, and avoidance always charges interest. Back home, standing still for a moment, he understood something fundamental. He wasn't afraid of change. He was afraid of discovering who he might become if he tried. Trying would remove excuses. Trying would demand responsibility, and responsibility is heavy, but so is regret. That day he went to work like always, same routine, same structure, but his attention had shifted. He noticed how often he stayed quiet, even when he had something to say. How often he chose invisibility because it felt safer than presence. How often he accepted good enough because it protected his identity. He wasn't being overlooked, he was hiding. That realization didn't make him angry, it gave him control, because once responsibility is accepted, victimhood disappears. He didn't act yet, not publicly, not dramatically, but internally, something locked into place. He stopped asking when life would change. He started asking whether he was willing to change first. That night, silence returned, but this time it felt different, less accusatory, more instructional. It didn't demand action yet. It simply made one thing clear. He could no longer pretend he didn't know. This was the moment before momentum, the quiet before truth demands movement. And deep down, he knew once awareness arrives, there is no neutral ground. You either step forward or you step back knowingly. And stepping back would never feel the same again. Awareness doesn't change a man immediately. It challenges him first. After that quiet realization settled in, he expected something dramatic to follow, a rush of energy, a burst of motivation, a clear plan. None of that came. Instead, resistance showed up. Subtle at first, he woke up the next morning with the same alarm, same bed, same responsibilities, and a voice inside whispered, "Yesterday was just a mood, don't overthink it." That voice was familiar. It had protected him for years. It told him to be realistic, to stay patient, to not disrupt what was already working. That voice didn't sound evil. It sounded reasonable, and that's why it was dangerous. As days passed, he noticed the internal tug-of-war. One part of him wanted movement, another wanted comfort. One part wanted truth, another wanted peace. And peace, when bought at the cost of growth, is just numbness with good manners. At work, he felt it strongly. Moments appeared where he could speak up, moments where he could take initiative, and every time his body reacted before his mind did. A tightening in the chest, a hesitation, a pause just long enough to let the moment pass. Afterwards came the justification, not worth it, wrong timing, better to stay quiet. He recognized the pattern immediately. This was fear, but not the loud kind. This was fear pretending to be intelligence. That realization disturbed him because it meant the enemy wasn't circumstances, it was interpretation. He began observing himself closely, not judging, not attacking, just watching. He noticed how often he negotiated with his own potential, how often he lowered standards to avoid effort, how often he confused patience with avoidance, how often he postponed action to protect his self-image. As long as he didn't fully try, he never had to fully fail. That strategy had kept him safe and stuck. One evening, he sat alone and asked himself a question he had never asked honestly. What am I actually afraid of? The answer wasn't simple. It wasn't failure. Failure could be explained. It was exposure, being seen trying, being seen imperfect, being seen risking something meaningful. Trying publicly removes excuses, and excuses had been his shield. He realized something uncomfortable. He didn't fear losing. He feared discovering his limits, because limits, once known, demand acceptance or change, and change demands responsibility. That night, memories surfaced, moments where he chose the easier option, where he stayed quiet to avoid friction, where he agreed when he disagreed. None of those moments ruined his life, but together they shaped it. A life designed around minimizing discomfort, and minimizing discomfort always maximizes regret later. The resistance intensified. Some mornings he felt clear, other mornings he felt foolish for questioning anything at all. People live like this, he told himself. This is normal. That sentence scared him. Normal meant common. Common meant replaceable. Common meant asleep. He started noticing people around him differently. Men his age who spoke only about the past, who joked about dreams like they were childish mistakes, who treated exhaustion as proof of responsibility. he realized something quietly horrifying. Most people don't fail their lives. They abandon them slowly, and then they defend that abandonment as maturity. He didn't want that defense, but resistance fought back harder. It reminded him of bills, of responsibilities, of the risk of instability. It painted growth as reckless, comfort as wisdom, and for a moment, he almost believed it. Almost. One morning, standing still before leaving the house, he felt something shift, a calm clarity. He understood that resistance wasn't a sign he was wrong, it was proof he was close, because the mind only resists change that matters. Trivial habits don't fight back, identity does, and his identity was under threat. The identity of the quiet one, the reliable one, the man who never caused trouble. That identity had earned him acceptance, but acceptance isn't fulfillment. It's permission to remain unchanged. He saw clearly now the life he wanted required a version of himself he had never practiced being, and practice requires embarrassment, mistakes, awkwardness. No way around it. That afternoon, a moment arrived, small, unremarkable. Someone asked a question in a meeting. He knew the answer. He always did. Normally, he would wait. This time, he didn't. He spoke, not loudly, not perfectly, but honestly. His voice wasn't steady, his heart raced. And then, silence. For a brief second, he feared he had made a mistake. Then the conversation moved on. No reaction, no judgment, just reality continuing. But inside, something cracked open. The resistance weakened, not because speaking up felt good, but because fear lost credibility. He realized something crucial. Fear survives on imagination. Action exposes it. Later that evening, walking alone, he felt exhausted, not physically, mentally. Because resisting growth takes energy. Avoidance is work, and he had been working against himself for years. That exhaustion came with relief, because for the first time, his effort was aligned. He wasn't fighting awareness anymore, he was cooperating with it. Resistance didn't disappear, but it changed. It became quieter, less convincing. He knew tougher moments were ahead, bigger risks, more visibility, more discomfort, but something fundamental had shifted. He no longer questioned whether he should change, only how much discomfort he was willing to tolerate to do it. That was progress, not exciting, not glamorous, but real. And real change always feels heavy before it feels empowering. That night, silence returned once more, but now it carried a different message. Not, are you unhappy? But now that you see clearly, what are you going to do about it? And that question didn't feel threatening, it felt inevitable. Awareness feels powerful until it demands responsibility. Once he stopped fighting the truth, something unexpected happened. Life became heavier, not harder, heavier. Because now, excuses no longer worked. He couldn't say, I didn't know. He couldn't blame circumstances the same way. He couldn't hide behind ignorance. Awareness removed comfort and replaced it with choice. Every morning, he felt it, that quiet pressure behind the eyes, a reminder that his actions mattered now. That pressure wasn't anxiety, it was accountability. And accountability is terrifying when you've lived unconsciously for years. He noticed how people around him remained the same. Same jokes, same complaints, same routines. But he wasn't the same anymore, and that created distance, not physical distance, psychological distance. Conversations felt shallow, laughs felt delayed, advice felt recycled. He wasn't better than them. He was simply no longer aligned, and misalignment creates loneliness. He didn't talk about what was happening inside him. He couldn't. How do you explain awakening to someone who's comfortable asleep? How do you describe restlessness to someone proud of stability? So he stayed quiet, and silence became his companion. At first, that silence felt peaceful, then it felt isolating, because growth separates before it connects. He realized something painful. When you change, you don't lose people immediately. You lose resonance. They're still there, but not with you. That hurt more than rejection. Rejection is clear, disconnection is subtle, and subtle pain lingers. Some nights he questioned himself. Am I overthinking this? Am I becoming arrogant? Was I happier before? Those doubts were sharp because they sounded reasonable. The mind doesn't want responsibility, it wants relief, and relief lives in regression. He could go back, stop questioning, stop pushing, blend in again. Nothing dramatic would happen. Life would continue. That temptation was strong because going back required no courage, only surrender. But deep down, he knew something irreversible had occurred. You can't unknow truth. You can't unsee patterns. You can't return to ignorance once awareness has named itself. Trying to go back would mean living dishonestly, and dishonesty fractures the soul quietly. Responsibility started showing up everywhere. In how he spent time, in what he tolerated, in what he consumed mentally. Entertainment felt empty. Distractions felt loud. He began choosing discomfort intentionally. Reading instead of scrolling, silence instead of noise, reflection instead of avoidance. Those choices weren't heroic. They were lonely. No applause, no validation, just internal alignment. And alignment doesn't feel good immediately. It feels exposed. Because when you remove distraction, you meet yourself fully. He started seeing his flaws clearly, not in a hateful way, in an honest way. His impatience, his avoidance of conflict, his fear of authority, his habit of shrinking to be liked. Awareness stripped away self-image, and what remained was raw, unpolished, human. For a moment, he hated that version of himself. Not because it was weak, but because it was real, and reality demands work. Responsibility whispered constantly. No one is coming to save you, not as motivation, as fact. No mentor, no miracle, no perfect moment, only daily decisions. And daily decisions are exhausting. He understood why most people stay asleep. Awareness increases burden before it increases strength, and many drop it halfway. They flirt with growth, consume inspiration, then retreat to comfort. He refused that retreat, not out of confidence, out of honesty, because retreat would haunt him later. Responsibility changed his posture. He stood differently, spoke more deliberately, listened more carefully, not to impress, to align. Some people noticed, "You've changed." He didn't explain. Explanations are for those seeking approval. He wasn't. He was seeking integrity, and integrity comes at a cost. Loneliness deepened, but something else grew with it. Self-respect, quiet, solid, unshakable. For the first time, he trusted himself. Not because he was perfect, but because he stopped lying to himself. And that trust was powerful. Confidence doesn't come from success. It comes from self-honesty, from knowing you won't abandon yourself when things get uncomfortable. Then came the moment, the point of no return. Not dramatic, not loud, just a quiet knowing. The life he used to tolerate, he could no longer live it convincingly. He could pretend for others, smile, perform, but inside, something refused to cooperate. That refusal wasn't rebellion, it was self-respect, finally forming. Awakening doesn't ask for permission, it rearranges your priorities, whether you're ready or not. Comfort felt like stagnation, routine felt like sedation, safety felt like slow decay, and that terrified him, because everything he was taught told him to seek safety. But safety without meaning is a quiet form of death. He saw it everywhere, people living carefully but dying internally, laughing but rehearsed, talking but empty, existing but not alive. That used to be him, and returning to that version felt unbearable. Responsibility now demanded direction. Awareness alone was no longer enough. What are you building? What are you avoiding? Who are you becoming when no one is watching? Those questions didn't inspire him. They cornered him. He had wasted time, avoided risk, chosen approval over truth. And now he had to live with that awareness. But instead of crushing him, that honesty grounded him. He stopped fantasizing about who he could be and started confronting who he was. He didn't need motivation, he needed discipline. Quiet discipline, showing up when it's uncomfortable, doing the work when motivation is absent, saying no when saying yes would be easier. Awakening doesn't make you special, it makes you responsible. Comparison disappeared, because comparison disappeared, because comparison's a luxury for the unconscious. He stopped asking, "Am I winning?" and started asking, "Am I honest?" Some days the answer was no. Those days hurt, but the pain was clean. Clean pain heals faster. He stopped waiting for clarity, for confidence, for validation. He acted without certainty, responsibly. He accepted something final. No one owes him understanding. No one owes him support. No one owes him belief. This was his path, and ownership of that truth felt terrifying and freeing. He was awake, and awakening doesn't end confusion. It ends self-betrayal. That is the true beginning.